dynasty since before most team members were even born.
We all have our goals set to win anyway, so it doesn't really add that much more pressure other than what we put on ourselves.
The outbreak of war in the Persian Gulf has student athletes around the country feeling powerful emotions, from pride to fear.
If the President of the United States asked you to go to war for your country, would you?
Yeah.
Lots of boys hockey teams have girl goalies, but in Fairbanks, Alaska, Kim Hammond actually centers a line on one of the top teams in the state. And we'll find out what makes the Hoops team in Whites Creek, Tennessee, one of the most dominating in the nation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Debenham. Welcome to ESPN Scholastic Sports America. This week, we're in Delta, Utah, home to the Delta Rabbits, and my home for my sophomore year in high school. That's right, I was a proud Rabbit at one time, and even back then, they had one of the best wrestling teams in the country.
ESPN presents the Youth of America doing their best on Scholastic Sports America. ESPN Scholastic Sports America is brought to you by the Coca-Cola Company and your local Coca-Cola bottlers. And by McDonald's. You know the one. It's McDonald's for food, folks, and fun. I remember my sophomore year spent at Delta High School. I remember it well. The locals said if you blinked on your way into this town of 3,500, you'd miss it altogether. And over the years, I would imagine there have been plenty of visiting wrestling teams that wish they would have blinked upon arrival. For tucked away in this central Utah farming community is one of the most successful high school wrestling programs in the country, the Delta Rabbits.
Well, with the score 52-9, the Delta Rabbits have virtually guaranteed themselves another win tonight. But what about the future? Well, consider this. Earlier tonight, the Delta Rabbit junior varsity squad defeated South Sevier 78-0. Yeah, the future looks pretty good.
Part of the Rabbits' continual success can be attributed to its feeder program, organized teams that begin teaching young would-be wrestlers in the 3rd or 4th grade.
A lot of these kids have been told ever since they were old enough to walk or talk that tonight we're going to go to the wrestles, and they go out and see their uncle or their cousin or their friend out there wrestling, and they say, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be that. I want to be that too.
If the desire is still there in junior high, the youngsters begin the training and weeding out process that it takes to become a Delta Rabbit.
You wrestle to get on the team. You fight to get on the team. Some of the toughest matches we have are, in fact, in the wrestling room. And so they begin to understand the competition early.
This is the ultimate goal, the Delta Rabbits wrestling team. And this is the man behind the team, Ladd Holman. Like most folks who live in this town, Ladd was raised here. And like most folks involved with the wrestling team, Ladd has been there. A 2-time state champion for Delta High, Coach Holman knows firsthand what hard work can do for a young man, including his own son.
My son won it his last year, which was his sophomore year, which was last year in 1990. And I hope that he can win it again this year. I hope he can do better than me and be a 3-timer, not a 2-timer, and that's his goal, too.
Joel Holman is one of 5 returning state finalists for Delta this season, and almost all have relatives in the stands that have gone all the way. And that means all the pressure's on them.
We have well over 100 state champions, and who knows how many 2nd, 3rd, and 4th places in the state, individuals. And maybe their dad wrestled, or maybe their brothers, or maybe their uncle. And so, you know, there's family pressure there for the next generation to do well and succeed. And not only is there pressure, but there's a lot of help.
And it's not just the folks in the community that help, but the community itself. Farms surround this tiny town, and the way Dan Corey sees it, a farm boy's apt to be a bit tougher than someone from the city.
Well, builds character, and everybody knows how to work. And then builds your body too. Everybody's tougher.
For Dan, those work habits go far beyond the farm, past the mats, and into the classroom, where he maintains a 3.99 grade point average, all of which adds up to some nice options after high school. But Dan takes it with typical Delta modesty.
Well, I'll probably go to BYU or Utah State, but I've had offers from Yale and Cornell.
It's pretty impressive.
I guess.
And Dan's not the only wrestler who's racking up the grades. 5 of his teammates have perfect 4.0s. 7 more carry a 3.5 or better. But in a sport where self-discipline and motivation are such a key, maybe we shouldn't be surprised. That same type of self-control is needed most by some of the athletes when the lunch bell rings. For a wrestler needing to make weight, lunchtime can be a hard time.
I don't ever go in the lunchroom. You stay away from it, don't think about it.
Well, now, describe what you were doing yesterday for us.
I was a couple pounds overweight, so I had to run, and once you get sweating, you lay under the mat, and it keeps you sweating more. So I was just sweating off a couple pounds.
Sacrifices, self-discipline, and plain old hard work has paved the way for years. The results are simply amazing. 34 regional titles in a row and 22 state championships. So far this season, Delta has outscored their opponents 618 to 160, and recently took first place at a 40-team invitational tournament in Sacramento. In fact, if the Rabbits take state again this year, and they are favored to do just that, Delta will set a new national record for state titles with 23.
I haven't thought much about it. Just everybody that's been through started it, and they've kept it going, and we've kept it going. Hope it still keeps going for the rest of the teams in the future. They'll keep it going.
And there's every indication that Van is right. With a tradition that began almost 40 years ago and a school and community firmly behind them, it's no wonder that in Delta, would-be wrestlers are chomping at the bit a little earlier than others. But once they get a taste of it, the Rabbits expect them to be the next in a long line, the longest line of wrestling champions.
When I think of Delta Wrestling, I think of the great tradition, the tradition of winning, the tradition of always doing your best, of coming through at the very last, and, you know, when everybody else wants to fade, you have a little bit left.
You'd never guess in a town so small that you can see from one end to the other that they'd have one of the best wrestling squads in the country, but you know what they say about some of the best things coming in small packages. All right, from wrestling, we move on to basketball and one of the better teams in the country, right after we check out this week's Scholastic Sports America Super 10 basketball poll.